Hello, and welcome to my little corner of the internet. I'm Siobhan, and this is my son, Mochi. He's 6 years old, and we've been through a lot together. Look at him! Just look at him! We just moved to Las Vegas from Colorado, and Mochi's been having a little trouble adjusting. For most of his life, Mochi's been an outdoor cat. But since we've come to Vegas, I've noticed that he's become a lot more anxious and bored. It breaks my heart to watch him curled up in a corner on the couch all day. There's fur everywhere. Okay, don't stick your tail in my face. So I've decided it's time to unleash him on the neighborhood. But first, he needs some form of identification. Something that says, I have a loving owner who wants me back in time for dinner. Now, if I were normal, I would probably just go to Petco, buy a collar there, get a little engraved tag and call it good. But I have sort of an obsession with making everything from scratch. I guess that brings us to the point of this whole video. I'm gonna be making a collar from scratch for Mochi. A beautiful, hopefully beautiful, bespoke leather collar, custom made for him. Just a disclaimer, this isn't really gonna be a tutorial. I am gonna be showing you my process of creating this collar from scratch, but I won't be going into too many of the details. Collecting all the materials for this project was honestly very time consuming and expensive. If you don't already do leather working, you probably wouldn't want to DIY this yourself anyway. This is really my first leather working project, and I'm probably gonna mess some things up. If any of you do leather working and you have any tips for me, please leave them down below in the comments. I would appreciate that. This is my design that I've come up with. I'm going for a very simple classic look. It's going to have the natural leather with, I don't even know what you would call them. It's gonna have darkened edges that are kind of glossy. I'm going with all brass hardware. I was going back and forth for a while about whether to do rivets or studs, but I landed on studs because I think they look a little tough, but not too tough. And I think it'll be really cute on him. And then I'm gonna have a brass tag that's stamped with his name and my phone number. Very basic, very simple. I'm hoping it works out okay. I don't know, I've never done this before. Let's get started. Okay, so just a little overview of my materials here. I have this leather band. It's a pre-cut leather strap. It's raw, unfinished leather. A little hole punch. I'm gonna be using this to do the rivets. This is, gosh, I'm not even sure what you call this. It's for doing rivets. This is my brass hardware. So we've got some pretty basic brass wire. These are the rivets I'm gonna be using. They're domed on one side and then they have a hole on the other side. I have these blank brass tabs that I'm gonna be using for his tag. These are the studs I'm gonna be using, just domed studs. This sort of imitation brass side release buckle. I don't think it's real brass, but it was the best I could find. These are pretty tricky to find. And then just this simple brass tab. It's very thin. I have a little bit of water, gonna need that. I have this stuff called edge coat. This is what's gonna give me the dark edges and that really nice finish. Got some gum tragicamp, or gum trag as they say in the leatherworking world. I'm gonna use this to burnish the edges. Some very basic Leathercraft cement. I'm gonna be using this to glue the pieces together. Some very fine 320 grit sandpaper, various wire working tools, a mallet. Gonna be doing lots of hammering. And then these stainless steel letter stamps. Okay, so I actually ended up going with a completely different set of stamps. You'll see that later in the video. And then just this knife. I should probably be using an X-Acto, but this is all I had on hand. Okay, I'm very nervous, but I guess here we go. Let's start. So I measured Mochi's neck and I came to this measurement. This is not gonna be an adjustable collar, so I really have to get the measurement kind of just right for this. I'm gonna be folding over the leather like this. That looks good. Just gonna mark that. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut it. One thing with leatherworking is that it's much easier to work with once it's wet. You can see how it really absorbs that water and it makes it kind of malleable, almost like clay. It's a very unusual material. Okay, here we go. We're gonna cut it. This knife isn't great for this. It's not very sharp. Okay. Now, the thing is that the leather is just a little bit wider than the buckle, so I'm gonna have to trim the leather. This is gonna be kind of tricky. You know what? We need to think about this a little bit more. My rivets are gonna be going on either side, so I want it to be a nice spacing, maybe just a tiny bit more. I am so particular. All right, yeah, I think that's gonna be good. And now what I'm gonna do is very carefully hammer this flat. This hammer is a bit rough. I'm just gonna take a paper towel and place it there because I don't want the leather to get marked. You can see that kind of flattened it a little. And now I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Leather is so unusual because it's skin, you know? It's flesh. Okay, so we've switched knives here. That other one just wasn't sharp enough. Basically, what I'm gonna do is just shave off a little bit of leather so that this buckle is gonna sit flush. Yeah, it's not very much. It's like 2 millimeters maybe. It's so minuscule, the amount of leather I'm taking off the edges here. Yeah, that'll be nice. That's good. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna finish off these edges. So I'm gonna take my sandpaper, just gently sanding. Just kind of getting the little wispies off. Okay, next I'm gonna take my gum trag and just apply a little to the side. The guy in the leatherworking store told me that this gum trag is an all-natural material. This does not smell natural. It's got a horrible chemical smell, like nail polish remover or something. Pretty potent. Now, I'm gonna take this pottery tool. There's a thing called a leather burnisher, but I don't have one. I didn't want to buy one, so I'm gonna use this and we'll see if it works. I'm just gonna rub it along the side. Oh yeah, that does work pretty well. You can kind of see it gives it a really nice finished sheen. You can kind of see the difference here between the burnished and the unburnished. Where's my gum trag? I love this stuff. Definitely not the right tool here. And now we're gonna apply the edge coat. Now you have to be quite delicate with this. I'm holding my breath. This is just a stylistic choice. It doesn't actually do anything to protect the leather or anything like that. So there's that edge done. I'm just gonna let them dry a little bit. I think I might plan out my studs.
That looks pretty good.
Eee. Nice. Pop. Looks pretty good. Like that. Okay, we're done. Just kidding. Let's keep going. Now, I'm gonna try to make these cuts for the studs. There we go. Fingers crossed. Whoop! Uh-oh. Ah! Ah! What do I do? Okay, let's see. Oh, there we go. So the plan is to have these studs folded over and sandwiched in between these two pieces so that it'll be smooth on this side and have the studs on this side. And that way it won't be catching in his fur and be uncomfortable. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. Ooh. This is gonna be a long video. Ooh. Okay. Okay. All right. And then those two are going to be rivets. That's going to hold the leather in place there. So now I'm going to flip this over and just hammer down those little feet that are sticking out. Shoot, I just realized I'm not recording. Now, basically, I'm taking these pliers and just folding over these tabs. And then I've got this random steel cube, and I'm just gonna hammer it. Doesn't look too bad. Okay. And then I'm going to glue this flat. Hopefully that will stick together. Okay, next I'm going to make the brass tab. I'm also going to sandwich this in between the layers. I think I'm going to use this cube again. Bend it over the edge like that. I'm going to hammer it a little bit just to get it a little flatter. Just going to trim this edge here. I'm gonna kind of trim that. Yeah, cut it. Ew! Oh, but I put it on the wrong side. It's not supposed to go on that side. It's supposed to go over there. This is gonna go in place here. I almost forgot. I need the little ring to go down here that will attach to the tag. So we've got a little bit of the wire here. I'm just gonna carefully form it into kind of like a little D shape. Just slightly rounded, like that. I'm gonna bend that over there. It's kind of finicky. How do I even describe this, you know? This is why I'm not doing a tutorial. Like, what am I even doing? I don't know. I'm just making it up. Snip. Ooh. Nice. Okay, and what we're left with is this ring. Hopefully you can see that. I'm gonna slip that over. Slip that. There we go. Just gonna kind of tuck these in. No big deal. This is probably honestly the most annoying part of this whole project. The most difficult part of this whole project. As simple as it seems. I mean, once again, I'm sure that there is a much easier way to do this. I just don't know it. You know, they probably make these rings. I could have just bought one. But what's the fun in that? There's no fun in that. Not that this is very fun, because it's not. So now you can see I've got the ring kind of attached there on the inside. It's gonna be sandwiched in between these two pieces of leather here, like that. All right, so now I'm just gonna glue these two pieces together. Unfortunately, it looks like there was a little gap here. I just didn't quite measure it perfectly. Just holding it together as it dries. I think I'm gonna remove that brass band. I think I am gonna redo that and try to cover it up with the brass band. Oh, hi, Mochi. Guess who stopped by? Oh, there he is. Do you like it? Okay, down you go. Okay, let's try to salvage this really quick. Okay, well, I was able to salvage my little jump ring, which is good because That was annoying to make. And we're gonna do this again, but this time we're gonna go all the way around. That little gap there, I'm gonna take a very thin piece of leather and just glue it in there real quick. Okay. It's not the most beautiful thing, but we are gonna cover it up with that brass tab. You can barely even tell it's there. Is Mochi back in town? It's pretty satisfying, actually. Woo! Woo! There we go. That's nice. And you know what I forgot? My little jump ring. Not perfect, but I think that's gonna have to do. Okay, let's do these rivets. We're gonna punch a hole right there in the middle. And there we are. We're left with a very nice hole. Now, to set these rivets, we have two sides. We have this button side and this kind of long side. Just like that. Boop. And then, quite simply, these just fit right over the top. You kind of push them into place like that. Okay, and then we're gonna take this tool, which I keep forgetting the name of. Just gonna place it on top and there you go. That is how you set a rivet. That's what it's called, a rivet setter. Now we're just gonna finish off these edges in the same way that I finished the edges in the beginning. So we'll just take our sandpaper. Okay, we're gonna grab our gum trag again. So the edges are nicely burnished. Now we just gotta apply the edge coat. I love this part. Okay, just gonna let that dry. In the meantime, I think I'll make the jump ring for his tag. So just gonna take a little bit of this brass wire and then I'm just gonna wind it around these pliers here. And then we'll snip it down the middle. And what you're left with is this little perfect ring. There we go. And we'll just kind of pull it open like that and carefully thread it through our tag. Okay, we are almost done. Just gotta stamp this tag and attach it, and then we're done. All right, so the whole process of stamping this tag turned out to be a lot more difficult than I had anticipated. I was pretty disappointed with the look of the font in my first attempt. So I ended up buying a completely new set of letter and number stamps and trying the whole process over again. However, despite my best attempts to get everything perfectly aligned, the stamps themselves were not manufactured properly and the letters kept coming out crooked. I went through this whole process 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times before I finally wound up with something that I was happy with. But I think it was worth it because I love the final result. All right, back to reality for a second. The true story is that Mochi went missing shortly after filming this footage. I couldn't sleep for days, staying out for hours every night calling his name. I posted on every street corner and every site that I could find. Finally, I got a text out of the blue, but when the sender demanded a ransom, I realized that the photo was AI generated. I began to lose hope that he would ever return, until one night around 3 a.m. something came up on my motion-activated camera. The whole thing was a roller coaster of emotions, and needless to say, I won't be letting him out again anytime soon. And that's it. Thanks so much for sticking around until the end of the video. You're awesome. This is my very first YouTube video ever. I am always making something, and I came to YouTube to find a space where I could share those things with other people. So thanks for being here. I've got lots of other ideas for videos planned for the future, so stay tuned for that. But until then, I'll see you next time. Bye.